Is health and wellness snacking giant Quest Nutrition positioned to take advantage of the current COVID-19 retailing environment? We will be digging into that and more next. On April 6, 2020, the Simply Good Foods company reported its earnings. And for those that maybe are not aware of who Simply Good Foods is, they are a holding company, a portfolio of a few different brands, being primarily around Atkins Nutritionals and Quest Nutrition, but they also own Simply Protein as well. Now, since Simply Good Foods company follows a fiscal calendar and not just a general normal calendar year in terms of the reporting, their quarter, this quarter two of 2020, actually ended on February 29th, 2020. So this was before the craziness kind of happened in March. So these numbers are not necessarily going to reflect a lot of what was happening in March around the retailing environment. But the leadership team at Simply Good Foods did put some commentary in their reports, also in their earnings call. So I'll kind of blend all that together with some of my thoughts later in this video. But before we get into that, I just want to share some of the financial data that was around the fiscal 2020 quarter two earnings by Simply Good Foods company. Like I did last video for Simply Good Foods, I included some of the presentation slides just to kind of help you out. I have found that when I'm talking about financial data, it helps people visualize what I'm talking about. So when companies put those out through some type of earnings deck presentation to the public, I will always try to make sure that I cut those out and have those available for you. So I did include those ones in this video. Simply Good Foods 2020 quarter two revenue was $227.1 million, which was up 83.4% year over year. Kind of a crazy number, but if you consider that they just acquired Quest Nutrition recently, a lot of the growth was coming from new sales, new revenue. So specifically, the Atkins Nutritionals part of the portfolio was organically up 12.1% year over year. It was also up incrementally from quarter one. Now, Quest Nutrition made up 71.3%. And like I said, this is the first full quarter of sales that are counted in the financials. So that number is a little bit bloated, but I'll kind of break this down a little bit more for you, the Quest Nutrition side of things. Simply Good Foods company was nice enough to put out some unaudited pro forma financials that break out if they owned Quest Nutrition at the start of fiscal 2019. So give you some comparativeness of the growth rates and what is happening at Quest Nutrition. So based on kind of some year over year sales data, Quest Nutrition in fiscal year 2019, so last year, in quarter two, they had about $79 million. And then if you consider what they had 2020 quarter two that we're talking about in this video, they had $88.3 million. So this is actually up about 11.8% year over year. Also, it was up incrementally quarter over quarter of about 3.3%. So that makes both the Atkins Nutritionals line and Quest Nutrition line growing at around the same pace if you look at just an organic sales number, which might surprise a few of you guys, especially because Quest Nutrition is a much younger company. But I've made lots of references on videos surrounding other protein bar companies and around Quest Nutrition, talking about how kind of late cycle they are in terms of the product of their hero SKU of the Quest bar. So that's why you're kind of seeing similar numbers here, but I'll kind of dive into a little bit around where I think some catalysts of growth could be in the future. Quest Nutrition's revenue is made up primarily from their hero SKU, Quest bar, which is about 2/3 of their revenue. The other 1/3 of their revenue, it comes from some of their platform offerings like cookies, chips, pizza, and drinks. While the OG Quest bars are still the star and it continues to see small double-digit growth, the 1/3 platform offerings that I was talking about definitely needs to be further diversified and deepened for Quest Nutrition to get past, the $500 million mark yearly, or even towards the $1 billion in total sales. And that's totally excluding the Atkins Nutritionals, because they are kind of on track sometime around this year, maybe early next year, to have a run rate of over $1 billion of the total Simply Good Foods company. The current platform plays in terms of the products are also all up double digits, but they're off of much smaller bases than the Quest bar. These items, including some of the multi-pack offerings that I've been seeing across some larger retail formats, will be key to getting a more robust placement in larger retail channels in the future. Additionally, they launched a new bar format that resembles kind of like a kind bar. So we'll see how that kind of scales up over 2020. There's going to be a lot of kind of resistance and things that 2020 is going to not really help them in terms of this new product launch. A lot of resets in terms of the planograms are getting pushed back. A lot of uncertainty right now in the retailing environment around COVID-19. So launching a new bar and wanting those to be in, the food, drug, mass, convenient channels, you're going to have a little bit slower of an initial launch comparable to where they would like it to be. They also noted, and they kind of continue to note, that the specialty channel continuing to be a challenge given a lot of the announced store closures and now the current kind of restricted living situation that you're having that's causing people to kind of change some of their shopping behaviors. Now, shifting over to Atkins Nutritional, the other kind of big part of the Simply Good Foods company, they had solid growth in their bars and actually had some really impressive growth in their confections at just over 30% year over year. But they did see a slight reduction in their ready-to-drink beverages, and that's due to some increased competitive activity in terms of some new product offerings and people on shelf kind of having similar value propositions. On the channel side, Atkins saw strong club growth of double digits. They also had around a 60% year-over-year growth on their digital sales, which has been a big kind of sore spot for Atkins as a whole, but they've really been focusing a lot of their attention. The Quest acquisition helps them a lot because now they have resources that are actually very good at selling things online. So this now accounts for about 7% of the total sales. Now, for the last part of this video, I want to kind of shift gears and talk about kind of the COVID-19 effect and what Simply Good Foods company is doing to position themselves for success, go through some of what maybe they're seeing on their side, what I'm seeing on my side, and see how these things kind of match up together. So as predicted on a recent Instagram post last week, total shameless plug to follow me and my daily content on that social media platform, and all the links to my profile on Instagram and honestly all platforms are in the video's description. But I kind of was mentioning that Simply Good Foods was going to be very confident in their business performance, the outlook of their business in the face of COVID-19, but they were going to be forced to pull guidance like pretty much every publicly traded company because of the huge amount of uncertainty during the short term. And that's exactly what Simply Good Foods did. And some of the commentary in which they talked about in the presentation, in some of the risk footnotes of the financials, and also on their earnings call, they kind of were saying, hey, things are going pretty good. We're progressing past our budgeted numbers, but we also know there's a ton of uncertainty. Things could change on a dime here, and we really can't have some guidance out there that we're going to get killed on in the back end when we don't meet these numbers. We got to kind of wipe the slate clean, and that's what you're seeing across all publicly traded companies at this point, regardless if they're in a strong place. They're also seeing some resistance and some risk exposure on a ton of different areas of their business. So it's just better just to wipe the slate clean like everybody else. And when there's certainty back into the system, into the market, then you could put those guidance numbers back out there. So I want to kind of talk about the Simply Good Foods company within kind of three areas here. And I'm going to be talking about the Quest Nutrition, Atkins Nutritionals kind of product mix. Also want to talk about kind of their channel strategy, how those brands match up in the channel strategy of the COVID-19 kind of retailing environment right now. And then I also want to just talk about the supply chain, how they're making sure their supply chain is going to be strong. And then also just like the balance sheet, how that looks, and if they're going to be able to sustain everything from like a business continuity type of a perspective. So first, just talking about Quest and Atkins products. What do they sell? Honestly, being that they sell kind of health and wellness snacking type of products, it's a great place to be at right now. There is some kind of counter things from a consumer behavior standpoint that are maybe not helping it completely. So you're seeing healthy snacking being something that's accelerating because a lot of the consumers are now closer to their pantry. So they are able to grab snacks pretty easy, much more frequently than they would. But there's also like a on-the-go aspect of these products. And because of that, you are not on the go. You can't go anywhere. It's restricted living right now. So unfortunately, that's hurting some of the convenient kind of snacking options of this in terms of some of the products and where they're placed at. But nutritionally dense, like food supplements, is growing really quick right now. A lot of people are having issues maybe finding high quality protein or maybe some products that are a little bit better for them, healthier for them in terms of this time of a global health pandemic. And they're choosing to switch things into products that Quest Nutrition and Atkins Nutritionals sell a lot of. So they're seeing that trend work in their benefit. And then you're also seeing some like a substitution effect. Some different data has kind of been put out there in terms of like, if you're in a freezer, say like a Quest pizza, and normally somebody would buy a DiGiorno pizza, like a conventional type of a pizza, they might be making a switch over to a better for you right now because of the global health scare. And then there's also some switching that are happening just because of out of stocks. If you can't buy, the first or second type of pizza that you like, and then there's a Quest nutrition pizza sitting there, maybe still, you're more than likely just going to buy that because you want the product category. You're willing to take chances on new brands because there's no other kind of options that are on the shelf. Not to say that the Quest nutrition pizzas are any bad, or it's just one of the things that are happening with the retail environment right now. Now to kind of shift into like the channel strategy aspect of this with Quest and Atkins, I actually think Quest is in a little bit softer of a position here. They do have some better areas that they benefit than Atkins, being that they do sell a lot of stuff online. They do sell a lot of things through Amazon. So those things are going to be working in their benefit, but they also sell a good amount of things through the convenience channel. And at this point, the convenience stores are not selling this frequency of some of these kind of grab and go type items. So that is a little bit of a drag on Quest Nutrition, but I think net, they're probably coming out pretty close to where they should be at anyways. Now on Atkins nutritional side, their strengths are in places where things are working out really well. So food, club, mass, they do great there. So they're really in a place like position from a channel strategy perspective where they're positioned. They are doing extremely well in terms of that. So you're going to see some growth here. Now, what's kind of breaking everything down, there's obviously great placements that both of these companies have. They're placed in really good, strong areas, but there's shopping behavior changes that are going on right now that are causing a little less than stellar performance. And that's because of consumers moving into this like convenience, quick shopping trip type of mentality where they're going to where they need to go as quick as possible, try not to, touch a bunch of things and potentially get sick. So being that a lot of the products that Quest Nutrition and Atkins Nutritional sell, being that they're on kind of the outskirts, the active nutrition kind of section, the healthy living sections, the HABA sections, like those are a little bit outside of where consumers generally go straight beeline a lot of times, maybe center aisle. So that's causing some issues in terms of maybe people not seeing the products because they're not placed in the right sections. Now, just kind of some final comments around the supply chain and the balance sheet. These are going to be important things to kind of focus on, especially all businesses, but definitely consumer packaged goods businesses. Simply Good Foods Company, being that this is run by some really good operators, I think they did a much better job than what you're going to see from some of the competitors in this space in terms of getting ahead of what was happening with COVID-19. The leadership team was in extensive kind of communications with their 3PL, their contract manufacturers, their ingredient suppliers. They're making sure that they had coverage, they had flexibility. So they were saying that those partnerships, the communication they've had with those third-party supply chain people were robust. They're ready to go. They've increased a little bit of their inventory on hand, normally being maybe 5 to 6 weeks of coverage in terms of product. Now they're moving those things up to like 10 weeks, maybe 8 weeks or so. So you're seeing them kind of get ready. They were able to add capacity early when some of the contract manufacturers maybe had some extra line time and things like that. They grabbed it as quick as possible to make sure that they were going to be in stock for maybe any interruptions around this uncertainty of COVID-19. Now, they also pulled $25 million from their revolving credit line in March of 2020. And this was basically for a few different reasons, primarily to make sure that they were increasing their inventory for some of the increased kind of growth velocities that they were seeing in some of their bigger sales channels. So they needed to make sure they had the proper product to make sure that those distribution centers and stores and things were stocked with product appropriately, especially with just kind of some crazy things that were happening around March with some of these retail channels. And they also did this just to kind of create some financial flexibility, making sure that they could make the proper decisions that were going to be focused long-term. I mean, they need to get through whatever they need to get through the short term. They're going to be coming out pretty good in this situation anyways, but they need to make sure they're always having the appropriate cash available to them to make make long-term focused decisions. They don't want to be always just cutting off their leg to stay alive. They want to make sure that they are fully intact for whenever the clouds kind of clear and the sun starts coming out. They want to make sure that they have the available assets, the available flexibility. They're able to be in a strong position to take advantage of maybe some other people's weak position. And now they also just talked about some of the maybe increases and decreases, kind of have counteracting things that are happening with COVID-19. On the kind of expense side of things, they did make some comments around some added maybe costs of their distribution because they need to retain some employees. They need to deal with some things from the safety perspective to make sure that products kept flowing out of their distribution centers. So that was going to be a little bit of a cost increase in which they're saying, but they're saying to counter that, you can't travel anywhere. You can't do a lot of those things. So a lot of that stuff that should be on the sales general and administrative side of things, the SG&A account, that's going to drop off. They're also seeing some trade marketing and things kind of fall off a little bit in terms of what they need to kind of put on for people to pull product off the shelf. So they're saying all that's going to be like a net similar situation. If you guys have any comments, questions, or interested in anything around Simply Good Foods Company and maybe some of their portfolio brands like Quest Nutrition or Atkins Nutritionals, make sure you guys are dropping a line down below.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.